Good morning, good morning. This is a special broadcast. I am so excited. This is January, and I hope that your January is off to a great start. I always love leap years. I just feel like it's God's way of giving me an extra little 24 hours to be fabulous. So I'm so excited about 2024 and all of the wonderful things that's going to happen for you in your center. And this morning, we have a special treat. We're going to be talking about what are some trends and some forecasts that's going on in early childhood. So we're going to let you get in, and we'll see you in just one moment.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Level up, 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 level up. All this on me so yummy, all this sauce so yummy. Know you want this yummy, yummy all in your tummy. Level up, 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 level up. All this on me so yummy, all this sauce so yummy. Know you want this yummy, yummy all in your tummy. Them old mistakes are gone, I won't do them no more. That's old news, that's new news, I done did that before. I turn nothing to something, my comeback on 100. Let's talk it, more action, you just gon' see coming. I just keep elevating, no losses, just upgrading. My lessons made blessings, I turn that into money. They gotta never settle, this view is so much better. I'm chilling, I'm winning, like on another level. Oh, you can talk all you want. See me, I stay prayed up, nothing I'm afraid of, and I can have it all. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, we are ready to go. And I want to know where you're from. Go ahead and let us know where you're tuning in from today. And I'm going to invite my wonderful friend, Honey, to the stage because we're going to talk about all the buzz that's going on in early childhood education. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Brandy. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited because when you released your podcast a few years ago, it was such a staple in the childcare industry. And so we thank you for all of the wonderful work you do to make sure that we have great knowledge and how to improve our schools. We really, really appreciate it. So what's been going on with you?
Well, I am doing fantastic, and I'm so excited to kick off the 2024 year with you. This is my first live streaming actually of the year, so kudos to Brandy. And so my team and I released the 2024 ECE forecast. So we did this last year and the year before, which was really about giving the industry the trends and the forecast of what we really anticipate being the top things that early childhood leaders need to work on in 2024 and beyond. And so this week's episode, it's a 4-part series, and this week's episode is all about leadership. And when we look at what the industry has really been through in the last 4 years, regular leadership is just not going to cut it. People have been through too much. People have seen too much. People have experienced way too much uncertainty, loss, grief, heartache, businesses being closed down, turnover, all of these things. And so we need to enter a new era of leadership. And I really see 4 key areas as being a core focus for early child leaders in 2024 and beyond. And that is leadership.
That's some good tea. We want to definitely know about that. So I know for me, my leaders have really, like you said, been through a lot and they struggle. And when you say leaders, are you talking about owners, directors, lead teachers? What is your definition of a leader in childcare?
Yeah, I'm talking about the owners and the directors, the people who have to lead the teams and lead the charge.
Yeah, that's a big responsibility. And I keep saying, listen, you can't pour from an empty cup. And the reality is that if we keep trying to do things the same way, we're going to get the same results. And as an owner, I need different results in 2024. I don't know about you.
Yes.
I need different results. So tell us about these 4 leadership buckets that is all the rage.
Yes. Yeah. So the first bucket is leadership, and focusing on leadership. And what I mean by leadership, I don't mean that, the typical leadership that the trainings that are out there of like how to get buy-in and how to build culture and how to do all these things. Leadership that's needed in 2024 is really going to be about really living and aligning with what your values are and your integrity. So it's not enough to just say, I value family, I value faith, I value teamwork and collaboration. People have been through too much. They see through everything now, and you must be able to live in alignment. And so what's happening right now, really around the world, there is a shift happening in the world. And so people have gone through their own personal reinventions over the last 2 to 3 years. They have, relationships have been born, relationships have been broken, people have created new alliances, new partnerships. They've taken stock of their own lives and what's really important to them. And so people have gone through a lot of personal reinventions, but their businesses have not necessarily caught up to their own personal reinventions. And so leadership in this season is about realigning your business to where you're going and who you have become in the last 2 to 3 years. So that's the first bucket of leadership.
And so I'm thinking, how do you realign? Because I know that we've changed. What's important to me changed. I'm going to tell y'all a secret. I close more at my schools now more than ever. And it's not because I want to close. It's because one of my values is I really want my employees to spend time with their family. And I also want my families to spend time with their families. So one of the things that we shifted, I'm going to close. Like even on federal holidays, I felt so indebted. Like we need to be open so parents can work. And now that is one of my key changes because I have to value my employees' time and their family, just like I want you to value your family. So that was one of our big realignments. So what's number 2?
Well, let's just use your example for a second, right? Your company was living out of alignment with what you really believed. So you really did value family and people practicing the value of family through spending time together. I always say kids spell love Time. That is how they feel love and connected and, with that intimate connection that they have with their families and their parents and caregivers. And so there was a misalignment in that you said you believed something, but the actions of the school didn't align with that. And the way that you shifted that was you were like, okay, we're going to close the school, on these days. And so the way that we get back in alignment, the first thing that we have to do is we have to pause and say, what is really important to me? What do I say really matters to me? What are the filters that I make decisions through? Why are those my decision-making filters? And then we transition that into the school and we say, okay, where is the mismatch? What are the routines? What are the rituals? What are the habits? What are the ways that people are showing up right now in the school? And how is that incongruent with what I say I really do believe in? So that's how I would say this is the first step to get in realignment in the leadership bucket.
I love that. And guys, drop in the chat, how are you realigning? Or if there are any values that are coming to mind, like this is more important to me now more than ever, drop them in the chat. We want to have this conversation. And we definitely want you guys to go out and check the full episode of this podcast because I think that they do a phenomenal job making sure that you not only look at your leadership a different way, but giving you some strategy. So I'm going to be dropping that podcast in the link directly to the podcast in just a second. But I also want you to commit to go and listen to it. I mean, go and listen to it. She wants to know your feedback. Okay, guys. So tell us number 2. I'm all ears.
Yes. So the next bucket is parent partnerships. And let's talk about why 2024 is so important to talk about parent partnerships. So in recent years, parent expectations have really evolved significantly. Okay. Parents have higher expectations for their children's education more than they've ever have. And the reason that the shift of parent expectations has shifted is because it's a lot influenced by an increase of awareness around educational standards, a desire for best possible outcomes. There is this kind of heightened expectation and demand in the world in general. Parents are also exposed to a lot of the economic and social pressures of today. And so there's an urgency to kind of secure the best possible education for their children. And so this urgency really manifests itself in very demanding behavior. This is why we're seeing a lot of demanding behavior from parents. And the other area is the digital age challenge. The digital age has brought so many new challenges and also opportunities. And so parents have unprecedented access to information about educational practices, about how to communicate with their teachers, the administrators. And while we look at connection as something that's positive, it also leads to a lot of this increase of interaction that is so burdensome on the teachers, from a place of fear and anxiety and just like, am I going to level up? And so understanding how to create parent partnerships that are real and authentic and really bridge that the stakeholders together, the child, the parent, and the school leader, that is going to be a huge focus of 2024.
I love it. I love it. Do you suggest that schools have more parent engagement or different parent engagement? You have any suggestions around that?
Yeah. I think the first thing, it's not about always more or less. It's first about understanding what are the different types of communication cadences that we currently have, and how do they serve the bigger mission and values of the company. So a lot of times we do things, and especially a lot of the behaviors that you're seeing in schools now are still a ripple effect of the COVID lockdowns and whatever happened in 2020. So there was this increase in, exactly. There was this increased need to communicate and be connected to parents and do this and do this and do all this stuff. And then certain things just became habitual. And we've never paused to say, 1 second, why are we actually doing 70 different types of communication points when the school closes for a snowstorm? Like what? So taking the time and capacity to audit the different parent communications that you're doing and cadences, and do these all align? And do we need to be expending so many resources to create these parent partnerships? Or is there a cheaper, easier, more efficient way to bridge these parent connections? That's one layer. The other lane to look at is, we need to empower teachers on how to sit in the discomfort of parent communication, because parents are more demanding, because parents are more insecure about their children, right? A lot of parents in today's generation see, well, really in any generation, see their kids as an extension of themselves. So when their children are struggling, you're like, well, that means I'm not good. That means I'm struggling. That means I'm not a good enough person. That means I'm not a good enough parent. That means I'm not worthy of whatever it is. And so when teachers are communicating with parents, emerging skills of children or challenging behavior, it's not so much about, they need to learn how to say it in a positive way. They need to know how to do the sandwich method. No, that's all tactical nonsense. Teachers need to learn how to sit in the emotional discomfort when they share hard news with a parent. The parent is not going to like it ever. So the teacher needs to learn how to sit in the discomfort of the parent's emotions and reactions and responses. That is how we create those relationships, because when the parent sees that the teacher is getting anxious or responding however, or reacting to their thing, now they're going to react even more. Think about the kid, right? When the kid falls and the teacher just says, oh, whoopsie, right? All of a sudden the kid's fine. But when the kid falls and the teacher's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? All of a sudden the kid's bawling their eyes out like they broke their bones. So that is what we need more training and more mentorship on, empowering of our staff.
I love that. We do staff retreats. We also do Super Saturdays, which are really awesome. And we do a lot of role playing with our staff and with our leaders, because sometimes us as owners, we got accustomed to having difficult relationships, and our muscle for conflict resolution, it's grown, because guys, it is a muscle. If you don't grow it, it will be weak and you will cower down. You won't know when to stand firm. You can be friendly and firm. Firm does not mean rude. It doesn't mean the usher, give me my gum, give me that gum. It doesn't mean that. But you can stand firm and still be kind. But really role playing with your teachers, some of those key contention points, because we all know them. Why did my kid get scratched? Where is my kid's backpack? Where is those $300 stud earrings that her grandma Josie bought? Listen, girl, don't send me grandma Josie earrings. We know those kind of combustion points. And I found really role playing with teachers and letting them act as a parent helps me identify what things they don't like about the communication. And then also me acting as the teacher sometimes gives them tools. And then we flip-flop. I'll be the parent, they'll be the teacher. I think it really gives them a chance to build that muscle to be able to stand firm on policy, but stand firm on kindness. Like one of our core values is kindness is key. Like being right doesn't mean you're right. Like literally, if you can't do it with a certain amount of kindness, then we got to find a different strategy. So thank you for mentioning that, because I think us as leaders, we forget how strong our muscle may be in the area, but how weak a teacher's muscle may be in the area just because they haven't used it, not because they're weak.
So let's go to the third one, which is child relationships. And so, the pandemic caused so many delays, developmentally, cognitively, emotionally, spiritually with our children, especially, the kids 3 and under. And these delays have lasting impacts. There's a lack of social interaction. There's an increase of parental anxiety because of these social interactions. There's a much lowering of cognitive development, excuse me, that we're seeing in children. And so what's happening with a lot of teachers is you have a lot of veteran teachers that their confidence is shot. Excuse me, sorry. So confidence is something that is earned. So it's not something that you buy. It's not something that you acquire. It is something that you earn. And you earn it through reps, through doing the hard work. And so veteran teachers who have been in the field for 5, 10, 15, 20 years have built a certain skill set and a repertoire of, I know what to do when this behavior happens. I know what to do when this happens. I know what to do when this happens. And so they don't have this level of insecurity when they're dealing with children behaviors. This is a whole new arena. The child relationships and behaviors that we're seeing inside of the classroom are behaviors that even seasoned veteran teachers are not accustomed to dealing with, especially at this scale and with this frequency, excuse me, with this frequency that we're seeing inside of the classrooms. And so teachers who typically knew how to respond to certain child behaviors are feeling so insecure and so out of their realm. And when you feel insecure, you will go to your default habits of what you do to create security. And every teacher has default habits of what they do, and some of them aren't pretty. And so the bucket that we need to work on when it comes to child relationships is we need to help our teachers understand that there's a new arena with children, and they need to learn new ways to connect, to build connection, to build trust, to build that safety with the children. Children are coming from very volatile homes sometimes that are just full of a lot of just trauma and just even like small eggshells or all of this kind of stuff. And kids are coming in very edgy. And it is a teacher's responsibility to create a community and a classroom of safety, of psychological safety. So that's the third focus of child relationships.
And that psychological is good. Some of our families, we're in a hurricane area. They may have experienced food insecurity before, right? And a child with food insecurity responds totally different if you take their plate away too soon at lunch than a child without it. A sip of water, Chanie. I'll make sure you're good. Than a child without it. So we want to make sure that when we are noticing that our students are exhibiting some behaviors, that we are conscious of our first approach with them, because it may be an onset of a different thing. And making sure that your teachers are not using any highly aggressive tactics, right? Because we never know what that child really needs. So I love the fact that when we talk about looking at our values, then also looking at, our parent communication, and then those student behaviors that may need to be attended to a different way. These are all superpowers of leadership that we may need to consider as we move forward. Guys, I did drop the link to the full episode. Please make sure you go out and watch it. It is amazing just to hear those strategies.
Thank you for that. Needed just a little bit of water there. Okay. And then the fourth bucket is financials. Now, I think that every single person here has a different definition of financials in the context of early childhood. And so I want to explain why I believe that this is a fourth bucket that we need to work on in 2024. And so when I look at financials, I think there has been a lot of scarcity-based decision-making inside of the childcare space in relation to financials. There was a lot of financial aid. There was a lot of all of this different stuff that was offered. And now that everything's stopping, there's a lot of still scarcity-based mindset thinking around where I should invest. There is a delusionment around needs and wants that needs to be rectified around school leadership. And the other two kind of core areas around financials that are really needed is around understanding money leaks and investment gaps. And what that means is Yeah. So what that means is that in every industry, there are money leaks. In your home, there are money leaks. There are things that if you close that leak, you would actually increase your profit margin very, very quickly, simply because you're closing a hole in the bucket. And there are 8 core money leaks inside of childcare, which I explain on the podcast. And when you identify which of those 8 are your leaks, you might have 2 out of the 8 or 3 out of the 8. It's leaks, actually, like leaking in the bucket. So when you identify those, then you're able to close them, and actually now you create more abundance. And so you're able to play a little bit differently, right? So you come to the poker chip table of life and childcare in a very different perspective, because now you actually have what to work with. The other area besides for money leaks are investment gaps. And so I think a lot of times leaders, especially, when there was all this grant money, we're looking at like, what's in your Amazon account? What are you buying? What are you doing? People, increased their payroll, and they just invested in all of these different stuff. And what we need to be aware of in 2024 and beyond, we have to understand, what are the company's investment gaps? Where are the gaps of where you're not investing right now? That if you made those investments, you would be better preparing yourself for what's to come, right? The economy is in a contraction right now, and we don't know, what's going to happen. We're in an election year. Every year it gets more volatile. And so we have to understand what we are actually in control of. We're not in control of government. We're not in control of the economy. We're not in control of so many factors, but we are in control of closing the money leaks and understanding our investment gaps. And I explain all of this in the financial episode that's going to be releasing. It's the 4th episode in the series.
So I love that. We have 4 episodes in this series. She talked about what each episode is going to talk about in particular. Let me know, which episode are you most encouraged and excited about? Is it the values and getting in alignment, the parent connections, talking to those students, or is it the money leaks versus investment gaps? We just ended, honey, our plan. We do a master plan challenge every year, and we dedicated a whole day just on financials and re-evaluating what we're spending, but also making sure we're budgeting based on enrollment. The time where we can budget based on, unicorn money right now is gone, because hopefully, we'll get some additional help, but that is not a basis for your budget. And I think us really understanding that is important. But to say I'm not investing any more in my business, I'm closing my checkbook, that is going to literally suffocate your revenue potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is why we need more conversation around this. And really, my goal in each of these episodes is to give the leaders language, tools, different perspectives, so that they can actually enter conversations armed with, like, this is the question I need to be asking. I think so many times we're hunting for tips and tricks, and what we really are looking for is better quality questions, better quality mentorship that we're seeking, of like, what are the questions I should be asking? And that's what is really happening inside of each of these episodes, is just different perspectives to be looking at in your leadership in connection to these 4 buckets.
Well, we are definitely happy that you stopped by Childcare Millionaires this morning
you.
to share with us, and thank you. Tell them a little bit where to find you and all of your good contact information.
Yeah. So if you go to the link that Brandy shared with you, it takes you straight to a page where you can, get access to the podcast episode. You can also get access to the written summary. So everything is inside what Brandy had shared. And then you can also go check out our website, which is schoolsofexcellence.com. We have tons of information there. But for right now, the best place to really go in this season, especially for leaders who have very little time, go check out that podcast episode and really just armor yourself up to really enter this new season with the right mindset and the right questions that you need. And I want to wish every single one of you a happy new year. I want to wish every single leader that's watching this live or the replay, everything that you need is inside of you. You have what it takes to ride this season. You need to bring up the stamina, the mental acuity, the focus, the direction, because it exists. It's been quiet, it's been silenced, but it's there. So go after it.
Well, I just want to thank you. Thank you for inviting me to last year's forecast. I loved my episode. So you guys can scroll down and find my name from last year. But I want you to take time, look at the podcast. Thank you so much, honey, for being with us. And thank you for being a friend of Childcare Millionaires. Okay, guys, that is our first live broadcast of the year. We are so excited about all the great things that Childcare Millionaires has going on this year. Make sure that you hang tight, you stay connected, because what happens next will be amazing. Don't forget, May 16th through the 19th in Houston, Texas, we have our annual conference, and it's not an event that you want to miss. So we want to make sure that we see you there. We want to make sure that you know that Childcare Millionaires is here for you. You can check out that information at childcareevents.com, and make sure you're checking your emails, because we will be releasing the replay to this and a lot of more exciting information about how we can support you in your leadership moving into 2024. We wish you well, and we'll talk to you soon.